They're doing a good job.
Yeah, right. What are we even doing here? We are talking about the Power 5 conferences and our picks for conference champions in the Power 5 conferences. What conference do you want to start with? Alphabetically, start in the ACC.
That sounds fun.
All right, ACC. Who you got? Who you looking at? Who you got?
I want to put FSU there, man.
That's who I've got.
I'm on the Jordan Travis train.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ride him to the ACC championship.
Yeah.
I am intrigued with Cole Kubalesk or whatever the new Clemson quarterback is. He looked good.
Mm-hmm.
What little I've seen,
Mm-hmm.
they have talent around him.
Well,
Does it click this year?
for me, earlier in the season, he got a couple snaps, and I thought initially, he does look good, but then kind of later in the year, and maybe the team had just ran out of juice, ran out of energy, but he started getting reps late in the year, and he didn't look as good as he did earlier in the year. I look at a trend, which way are things trending, and Clemson, frankly, has just been trending the wrong direction. They've been trending down. Florida State's been trending up. You got UNC in there, but UNC's just. Do they field 11 guys on defense? I mean,
Well, are we jumping out of the ACC?
UNC, the University of North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina.
Yeah.
I forgot they had a football team. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
They got that's cute what they do over there. So I'll leave them alone. I'm not going to bother them to. They don't need to
Be bothered, yeah.
be booked for a game on the conference championship week that week.
Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. For all you UNC fans alum, your schedule's free that weekend,
Basketball will be back though.
Mm-hmm.
Basketball coming.
Always is. ACC, yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm taking Florida State from that ACC. Like I say, I just think that they're trending the right direction. Clemson just has too many question marks for me at the moment. The ACC would be so much more interesting if Notre Dame was in it, but they're not. So Miami could do something. I'm not seeing it at the moment.
I've heard that Van Dyke is their quarterback. I've heard good things coming out of spring.
Mm-hmm.
That's a quick fix, man. If they get a couple players in the portal.
It was so sad to me last year watching that Miami game when they had 17 or 18 fans in the Hard Rock Stadium down there in Miami. I mean, how the mighty have fallen. I remember the days when Miami would just roll over schools. I mean, they had an era of absolute dominance there. Where did that all go? I mean, they are an absolute shell. Last year, they were an absolute shell of their former selves. And you have to have a fan base and fandom to drive the revenue, to get the players, to get the program going. And I did not see that out of Miami last year. I mean, get your own stadium, Miami. Have your own football field.
Nice.
Have your own football field.
Mario Cristobal, before we leave Miami. Every new coach gets a year to throw in the trash, and that was last year for him.
Yeah.
So he's got some proving to do this year. He came in, he was pretty hot on the recruiting trail. I know he took a safety that we wanted real bad, Jameis Williams. It's like a 6'5" safety. I mean, the dude's huge. Very, very talented, but he'll be playing for him this year. They have some talent.
Mm-hmm.
Does Mario turn it around this year? I think is the question.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see. Like you say, you get 1 year of excuses. After that, excuse season is up. I'm kind of rooting for Miami. I would rather see Miami have success, or Florida State even probably, than than I would Clemson for some reason. I don't know. But I think we both picked Florida State out of the ACC. Let's slide on down to the SEC. Who you got? Who you got out of the SEC?
I think it's going to be a repeat of last year, to be honest with you. I think Georgia beats LSU in the conference championship, just like last year. LSU gets by Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
They have too much returning talent for Alabama to get past them.
Definitely going to be one of the games of the year. We'll revisit that game later on. There'll be plenty to talk about.
That's got to be game day. After they beat Nick Saban last year.
Well, it'll probably be the biggest regular season game of the year, for sure. If not the biggest one of them. I disagree with LSU getting there. I can't give you any specific reason other than Nick Saban. You know, he's sold his soul to the devil or something. He's got some black magic going on. He's as hungry, I think, as he can be at his ripe old age. How old is Nick Saban? 73? I mean, he's not a young whippersnapper anymore.
I think he's a senior citizen.
Yeah, for sure.
He gets the discount.
AARPs,
yeah, he gets the discount.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's so much talent at Bama. They've got new coordinators coming in. I couldn't tell you a whole lot about those guys. The only thing I can tell you is they can't be worse than the coordinators they had last year.
Well, to go into that a little bit, the defensive coordinator, I believe, not the offensive. The defensive coordinator they brought in is a 70-year-old dude. Mm-hmm. They're bringing in another long-tooth staff member.
It's just young energy in Tuscaloosa. Yeah. youthful.
Which people are already speculating. At some point you grow out of the ability to relate to young kids.
Oh, of course, yeah. But I mean, it is an energy factor. I mean, you look at Georgia's coach, Kirby Smart. The guy's working 80 hours a week, every week.
He's still got a 40-inch vertical on the sideline.
He's still got that 40-inch vertical. You know, he's still finding time to hit the gym. Nick Saban ain't doing that. I mean, he's just not. You know, he's got his minions that do most of his dirty work. He hangs out at Lake Burton, plays some golf. The only reason I'm picking Bama to come out of the West is just because of Nick Saban's history. If they lose to LSU this year, you know, I think, I don't want to say put a fork in them, but you got to start wiping that fork off and getting ready to kind of jam it in there, don't you?
I think so. And here's the big problem is due to Alabama's dominance over the past decade plus, you know, more like 15 years, everybody's got them circled.
Yeah.
That's a game no matter if they're number 1 or 12th ranked.
Right.
You want to beat them for what happened in the past.
I mean, that was the only bad thing about Georgia's season last year was we didn't get to beat Alabama. You know, and you know we would have. You know we would have laid it on them. And Nick Saban drags his sorry butt, probably bought his own ticket out to California to go sit up in the commentator booth. How pathetic was that? You know?
And that pissed me off as a Georgia fan.
How pathetic was that? You're going to buy your own ticket to California.
We got the Aflac blue vest
two
on.
teams that got nothing to do with you sitting up there in that commentator booth. Maybe Nick Saban's lost his balls, man. I don't know. I mean, maybe they fell off somewhere.
Well, he did have that hip replacement.
You think they might have cut the wrong part?
Slipped, you know.
They might have cut the wrong part. All right, cool. I don't want to pick Alabama coming out of the West, but I'm going to just because if they prove me wrong again this year, I won't give Nick Saban his old don't underestimate Nick Saban props. I am picking Georgia to win the SEC. Right. And I don't think it's going to be close, really.
So we agree on ACC and SEC champion.
Correct. Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the Pac. Let's go West Coast. Who you got coming out of the Pac?
USC. I don't know. I mean, Oregon has the returning quarterback. I mean, he's coming back, and he did great after Georgia. What was his name? You remember?
Who Oregon's returning quarterback?
Yeah,
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix. Thank you. Bo Nix did great after Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
He could have a great season, end up in the championship game. And I do believe Oregon and USC are on opposite divisions.
So I don't. The Pac, I believe, works a little differently.
Oh, do they do off of most wins?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think there's like an East-West or North-South or something like that. I think it's like it works off of a win percentage. But then they do have their championship game. Because that's what Utah had cost USC, because they beat them in the regular season and then they beat them again in the championship last year.
That was bad when you lost twice to that team.
Right. So I don't think they have divisions. And if we're wrong, I'm terribly sorry. Just Google it. But I think it's a play-in, basically for the championship game.
So I do have Utah wrote down on my list because they won it last year. In fact, they've won 4 out of the last 5 or 6.
Utah's got a good football program. Full stop.
I just don't know
for the Pac.
what they have coming to replace their offensive production.
Yeah. Well, their offensive production was, 55% one player, and it was that tight end that they had. I mean, he kind of was their offense.
He was good too, man.
Yeah, he's
Kincaid.
Yeah. He's a good football player.
But USC, Oregon, and Utah. That's all I got. Give me USC with Caleb Williams, best player in the conference. Mm-hmm. Give me USC coming out of the Pac.
You're probably right. It's probably going to be USC. I'm going Oregon though, just because I don't want to pick USC, and I have a little bit of faith in Dan Lanning out there. After Georgia, they look pretty decent. They dropped a game late in the season that they should have won, that would have put them in the Pac championship game against USC.
Was that Oregon State? It was like something weird.
Yeah, and they almost came back and won the game. I don't know. It was actually pretty interesting, but I just don't follow that, that far out with those guys. I mean, once you pummel a team by 40 some odd points, you're not going to be very apt to watch them the rest of the season. They're not going to be on your radar, so to speak. But I think Oregon is going to be USC's biggest challenge. Utah, again, I don't follow these schools close enough to know, who they have on the roster, who's leaving, who's coming, what they've done recruiting-wise. But just from a soundness of coaching, I mean, University of South Carolina's defense was just absolutely pathetic last season. Absolutely pathetic. They couldn't stop anybody, Offensively, sure, they got a little bit of firepower. They've got, a good quarterback. I mean, he won the Heisman Trophy, so he's not too bad. But if you want to win championships, you got to play defense at some point. And I haven't seen USC play any. So.
Well, and that's, if you ask me, that's Lincoln Riley's downfall. It's been his downfall.
Right.
His entire
career, yeah.
I mean, he's had a great career, stats, 10, 11 wins every year, going to the playoffs, and we're bouncing in the first round because we can't play defense.
Maybe if the Pac could get Lincoln Riley and Dan Lanning on the same coaching staff, they could have something, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's their best. Well, hey, if you ask me, without knowing where Dan Lanning's, going to end up in the coaching world, as far as ranking goes, the coach down there at Utah looks like a good medium right there.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey.
Oregon's a good job. I think Dan's doing a good job at Oregon. I mean, I think they're going to be a good fit. So that's why I'm going to jump on the Oregon bandwagon, quack, whatever they say. Anyhow, Big Ten, who you got coming? Who you got coming out?
Big Ten is either Michigan or Ohio State. It's the only...
Well, you got to pick one. You can't pick two.
Well, I'm bringing it up that way so I can kind of talk about the entire conference.
Mm-hmm.
I think there have been some major moves in that conference coming
Mm-hmm.
on the other side of the other division. Next year you might be here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Okay, but I'm
Well-
gonna ride with
What about
Michigan.
Nebraska? How in the world are they going to rebuild that program?
I see. Yeah, Nebraska,
I mean, that's like a 5-year rebuild. you
but
got
that's
over there.
another one of those teams. Got a new coach.
Yeah.
You know what? Got a couple Georgia players in the portal.
Yeah, that's true.
That portal it just changes everything. I mean, bam, and you're a conference contender.
Well,
you know?
it can, but you remember Texas A&M? They were the proving case of just because you bought some dudes doesn't mean you're going to get some victories. It can you can get those pieces quickly. You can get those pieces of the puzzle, but you still got to put that puzzle together.
That's true.
So there's a coaching factor I think that still goes in somewhere in the game of football. I think you still have to have some coaches.
Penn State's a sneaky pick up there. I mean, that's a top 10 team last year.
Penn State's who I've got to win the Big Ten.
Do you really?
Yeah, I just think they're due. Normally, sure, most people, Ohio State, blah blah blah. I think even Vegas had pretty good odds with Ohio State. If you watch that spring game, you would not put a dime on Ohio State to win anything.
No.
I mean, that was awful. That was an awful performance. Now, granted, teams get a little bit better as the season goes along, but they're too far back at this point.
It's a quarterback-driven system, and you don't have a returning quarterback. I can't take you in the preseason.
I know.
That's where I'm at.
I know it. So yeah, I'm going Penn State. I just think that it's kind of their time on that cycle of rotation. I think that they're due. Their program's been getting better. They had the big setback when Joe Paul left and all that. They took a heck of a dip, and it's kind of taken them a while to sort of dig themselves out of that. But, Penn State, I mean, that's a big fan base up there. They rock out. They
You
rock
like
out
James
100K.
Franklin? Who else can give Vandy 10 wins?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know what I mean? I mean, so
Yeah.
it does feel like some of the momentum that he took up there has, fallen off a little bit. But
Well, I was kind of sold on Penn State last year when they went down to Auburn, Alabama, and waxed Auburn. I mean, flat embarrassed them. I thought maybe they're the real deal. Of course, I didn't know. It was a little earlier in the season. I didn't know how bad Auburn was, but yeah, I mean, still to go into a hostile environment, the SEC. Early on in the year, everybody still has their hopes up. That was a quality win for him last year. I mean, it absolutely was. I mean, you're right that they've got Michigan, they've got Ohio State, they've got Wisconsin. They've got some challenges, but is Michigan going to be the same team they were last year, which is the same team they were the year before that?
they have a lot of returning starters. Their biggest hit, which is a big hit, a main hit for them in a run style scheme. The offensive line, they're repairing that in the portal.
Right. Yeah.
That kind of brings up questions, but the two-headed snake in the backfield's coming back, and they're both really good.
Yeah, they are. They are good football players, but
Cohen and Edwards.
If you don't have those big bodies blocking in front of you, you're not going to be able to do anything. I mean, it doesn't matter how talented you are.
And the quarterback's returning as well. So
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
So is Michigan your pick? Who are you picking?
Yes, I'm taking Michigan out of the Big Ten.
Well, that'll be an interesting race. I mean, all these are pretty interesting races, really.
Well, they're all important.
Yeah.
They all matter,
For sure, 100%. Power 5, All right, let's stroll on down to the Big 12. Who you got?
Big 12 is the hardest for me. I mean, by far. I have 4 teams down. I got a question mark by every single one of them. Texas right now I'm leaning Texas.
I'll lead off. I'm going Texas.
Okay.
They've been buying folks. You know, they got Georgia's best receiver, A.D. Mitchell. We love you. We miss you. You know, wish you all the best out there in Texas. Texas too. I mean, are they even a Big 12 team? You're coming to the SEC next year, Texas. Let's see what you got. You know, they almost upset Bama last year, which a lot of people did. But yeah, I mean, they've been picking up some boys. They got the Manning kid down there at quarterback. Is he going to be able to make a start this year? You think?
Well, I don't think so. No, I think Quentin Ewers will take still returning starter.
They'll probably develop Manning for a year or something.
He came out in the recruiting search that had him ranked like, you know, they put a number by you, right? Like your 5-star prospect, the rating on you 99.6.
Right.
He came out as a 100. So
does that happen?
I don't know if I've seen that before. But so basically they're saying this dude has no flaws.
Yeah.
Okay, this is championship every year.
He's even good at math.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I mean, so, you know, I'm still intrigued on what's going there. Manning, I kind of think his recruiting was bumped by the name, not by what was shown on the field. I think he's a good player.
Yeah.
I really do. And I believe he should be Power 5 and starting and all that. I just don't know if he was number one coming out.
Georgia was hard after him. You know, I agree. He's not your prototypical as far as your body size. I think he has good arm strength, not great. I think he has good speed, not great. You know, there's a lot of goods, not great, on his, you know, checking the boxes.
In his defense, that's kind of been the Manning's MO.
Yeah, they're hard workers. They're diligent. I mean, Peyton Manning.
The details.
Peyton Manning ran the 40-yard dash in like.
He ran it?
For 3.5 weeks. You know.
That's why I was wondering if he walked it or ran it.
The only guy I've ever seen who could run a naked boot, and it's like the defense was completely fooled, but you're still not sure if he's going to make it to the pylon.
Right.
You know what I mean? like guys are like, did the whistle blow? Oh shit, Peyton's got the ball over there. You know. then they still caught up to him. Yeah, they were X's and O's guys. They were coaches on the field, right? They were big brain dudes. I mean,
they made the people around them better.
Right. I mean, but they were a head football coach on the field. In fact, Peyton knew more about his offenses than his coaches did. You know, he kind of was the coach. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like, they would go to the line of scrimmage. He would call a play as much as he'd call a formation. Then he'd get to the line of scrimmage, and then he's going to tell everybody where to go. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
That was kind of how.
Just get the defensive line on.
Right. I'm going to see what they do, and then I'm going to tell, you know, y'all what to do. So, but look, credit where credit's due. He had a tremendous career. Both Peyton and Eli, and I guess their daddy did too. So there's no sense to think that, you know, the next generation of a Manning isn't going to do the same, you know.
That's true, but I don't think it'll be this year. Unless Quentin Ewers takes a fall or from the grace.
I'm sure you're right. You know, if you got a returning starter, and you don't want to ruin a guy, a true freshman, by like throwing him in the fire too soon. You know, you can ruin his whole career by doing that. You know, you got to let him get some confidence built up, get going. But crazy things could happen though. There's injuries. There's, you know, crazy things happen. That's how Peyton ended up starting as a freshman at Tennessee. You know. But yeah, Texas. Moving on. Who else we looking at?
I got Oklahoma written down with a question mark as well. I mean, after last season, you know, once again that was a brand new coach. That was Venables, and does he make a jump in his second year? One of these coaches is going to. It's just nailing down who it is. I personally lean more to the Mario Cristobal making that jump than. You know, staying in Oklahoma with Venables. His recruiting really took a dip where Mario came in and maybe his coaching took a dip, but his recruiting. I mean, he knew where his bread was, you know, and. I also have Oklahoma State, who got beat last year by, like, what was that, Kansas State?
Yeah.
At the very end. You remember the guy was, like, right there at the goal line, the running back. It got tackled, like, inches. Or they would have played TCU to see who goes.
To see who goes, yeah.
And they got beat, and TCU got to play Kansas State, and we all know how that rolled from there. So, Oklahoma State, I also heard Spencer Sanders is his name. He transferred, a 4-year starter, grad transfer to Ole Miss. Going to sit on the bench, maybe, in Ole Miss if he don't hit the portal again. But I heard that was a mutual parting of ways.
Really?
Like the coach and the quarterback. Something happened. There are reports, though, that he was not recruited to stay. He was told it's time to go. So what do they got going, you know, at the most important position, you know? And obviously TCU, that had a absolute Cinderella of a season last year. I got to put them in there because they walked it all the way to the Natty, you know?
Yeah.
Now, I don't even know if they played in the Natty, but they did get a ticket to show up, you know?
Well, it's never bad for your program to get to the national championship, right? It's never a bad thing for your program. I mean, to get completely walked off the field and it not even look like, you know, you look like a high school team playing a college team. I mean,
but how many of these teams that we talked about did they beat to get that opportunity to be walked out?
Right. I mean, with the state of college football, there's a very few haves and a lot of have-nots. You know, that's kind of the state.
TCU is a half school now.
Yeah,
they got some history over there.
No, I mean currently with just the money thing, and so I'm looking at the money thing, and Texas has more money than all those other schools combined. Yeah. So that's kind of, you know, I just think that they're making a push to get some wins, to get some stuff under their belt.
I got a little bit of a rabbit hole question. TCU being a Christian school, do you think they could just tithe a little better over there and get some more money?
Do I think what now?
You know, the 10% you're supposed to give back to as a Christian to the church. Maybe they could show some accountability over there with the Christians. Maybe they could get some more money going. You know?
Let's lengthen those horns on our frogs. Look, the state of Texas has a lot of money. You know, that's why the University of Texas has a lot of money. That's why Texas A&M wasted a lot of money last year. Probably going to waste more this year, but. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, TCU is a small school, right? I mean, how many kids even go to that school?
I don't know. Like I say,
like what's their enrollment? Like 8,000, maybe 10. I mean,
they have some natties in their past, so they've been around for a minute to grow off of.
Right.
Even from the academic side.
They're a small private school, you know, like Notre Dame. You know, they have 10,000 people enrolled, something like that. You know, just a smaller school. So. You look at that, and you look at alumni, and alumni translate to boosters, right? So, if you're a tenth of the size of other schools, you're going to have a tenth of the boosters. Mathematically, naturally, you would assume that you're going to get a tenth of the money. Naturally, that would be basic assumption.
Barkley, their tenth of a percent is Jesus.
Okay.
They're going to be all right.
let's don't go too far down that road. Yeah. Anyhow, cool. So that wraps it up. You're taking Texas. Who you taking?
I don't want to take Texas just because you're taking them, and they all have question marks on the page. Give me Oklahoma State.
I thought you were going to say TCU.
I don't even know what a horned frog is, sir.
A horned frog is not a frog, it is a lizard, by the way. I had to look that up last year.
You see where I'm confused?
I see where you're confused. Cool. Have a good weekend, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Probably on some Formula One, so tune in for that.